There's a new bat taking over MLB. It's seemingly turned below average hitters into stars. One team has already broken a home run record while using it. Carrot Top put one in his act and is now smashing watermelons with it. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson is weighing in on the Torpedo bats, and a lot of people don't like them.
We don't need these Godzilla bats infiltrating the national pastime.
Designed by an MIT scientist who used to work for NASA, this bat in just a week may have changed the way bats are made forever. A baseball bat arms race has begun in MLB. Within a few years, we may not only see more Torpedo bats, but more designs that look even weirder. And if the scientists are correct, a brand new offensive explosion, all because of this man and his bat. Because of him, we now know Torpedo bats have been around for decades. We found out that this bat is legal in MLB. This is a legal bat in MLB. Even this is legal in MLB. And a lot of people think that shouldn't be the case. One pitcher says if Torpedo bats are legal for batters, then pine tar must be legal for pitchers. Another says they're, quote, ridiculous and only allowed because the Yankees are the ones using them. And one MLB exec already predicts MLB will have to ban these bats. But these bats have been around. In fact, two players we know of used one last season. One had the best year of his career using the Torpedo bat, and the other resurrected his career with the Torpedo bat, became a playoff hero, and is now unable to play due to an injury that may have been caused by the Torpedo bat itself. These bats are allegedly injuring people, turning bad hitters into amazing hitters, and are pissing off pitchers across the league. But none of us would have ever even known what they were if it wasn't for this random at-bat during the second game of the season. As Anthony Volpe stepped into the box, the Yankees broadcast took a moment to explain some new equipment he'd been using.
Now, you see the shape of Chisholm's bat.
Dude, it's got a big barrel on it.
Well, so they had bats made up where they moved a lot of the wood into the label, so the harder part of the bat is going to actually strike the ball.
That'd be a weird way to hit. It's going up.
Then, moments later,
high fly ball, left field. Churio back, track, wall, see ya! The bat worked!
On high fastballs in this location, Volpe hits 167 with only a 20% hard hit rate. That would make him the second worst hitter in the league. He's only hit one home run on a ball in this location in his career, but he crushed this one. And as this clip of the Yankees announcer explaining the new bat begins getting some traction on social media, the Yankees offense explodes, hitting 9 home runs in a single game, tying a franchise record. They hit the first 3 pitches of the game for homers and ended up winning 20-9, and people online started to ask questions. It comes out that this bat was designed by a scientist formerly employed by the Yankees. On a traditional bat, you want to hit the ball here. It's called the sweet spot. However, he found that many of the Yankees hitters were hitting the ball here, so he shifted the shape of the bat, making the fattest part of the bat, otherwise known as the sweet spot, to the area where that specific batter is most likely to make contact. 5 Yankees hitters began using them this season, and all of them already had at least 1 home run in the first 2 games of the season. As people on social media started asking questions, digging into the bat, losing their minds, the Yankees played again, and Jazz Chisholm hit 2 more home runs using this bat. As the Yankees went on to score 12 more runs as a team, they scored 36 times and hit 15 home runs in 3 days, setting an MLB record for most home runs hit in the first 4 days of the season, while 5 of their 6 best hitters were using the Torpedo bat. And people everywhere were losing their shit.
I mean, all the teams are going to use it. Should it be legal? No. Is it cheating? Yeah, it is.
Torpedo bat, it's legal. So all you haters, shut the f*** up.
And this bat is legal. MLB states as long as the bat is smooth, round, made out of one piece of wood, is shorter than 42 inches in length, and its diameter is no more than 2.61 inches, it's legal. And that gives players a lot more leeway than people realize. For example, in the 1920s, Heine Groh used this. It's shaped like a softball bat and looks ridiculous. Show this bat to anyone today, they'd assume it has to be illegal. but it's not. Assuming the thickest part of this barrel is 2.61 inches in diameter, it's allowed. The barrel can be as long as you want, creating the biggest sweet spot possible. And this is what Aaron Lienhart, the creator of the Torpedo bat, realized. He found a lot of players, not knowing the rule, were using bats with barrels smaller than the 2.61 inches that MLB allowed. That's a big deal. Even hardcore baseball fans don't remember this, but in the 2000s, MLB was seeing an increase in broken bats. It was getting dangerous for players and fans. They were getting hit with them more than ever. Tyler Colvin got punctured by a broken bat and missed the rest of the season. That scared MLB, so to decrease broken bats, they decreased the maximum barrel size from 2.75 to 2.61 inches. And this 0.14 inch difference in barrel size coincided with a league-wide drop in average on-base percentage slugging and 500 less runs being scored the next season. Bigger barrels lead to more contact and harder contact. Increasing player barrel size may have been the first step in the torpedo bat development. However, it's a lot more nuanced than that. The torpedo bat development goes back nearly a decade and coincides with something called bat fitting that is sweeping across baseball right now. Bat companies realize that ideally each player's bat would be personal to them based on their tendencies, investing millions in labs that study players' swings. They measure your whole body, hook you up to motion capture sensors, use high-tech cameras, and determine the perfect bat just for you. Based on the results, they change the weight, where the weight is distributed, the size of the bat. Sometimes they decide you need a knob like this, and it's all backed by science. In the top labs, a single session of bat fitting costs up to $7,500 for adjustments as subtle as changing the thickness of the bat handle by 0.1 millimeters. That's what Francisco Lindor did to his bat, and him and players everywhere swear by it. Paul Goldschmidt did it, threw out every single one of his old bats, and won MVP the next season. Matt Carpenter in part credits it with his insane comeback season with the Yankees in 2022. Players at all levels are flocking to these labs, and teams began investing millions in similar research. The Yankees' MIT scientist took it a step further. Instead of adjusting things like weight, length, and handle size, he adjusted the literal shape of the barrel based on where the data said players were making the most contact. In 2024, he saw Giancarlo Stanton, who was coming off the worst year of his career, as the perfect candidate for this bat. He sent in measurements to Stanton's bat company, got a model created just for Stanton, and gave it to him. Stanton agreed to give it a shot, and in the very first game he tried it, he hit a baseball over the batter's eye, then went 3 for 3 with 3 home runs in 4 innings. And the rest was history. He continued using it, had a resurgent year, took it into the postseason, and went off. He hit 7 home runs and drove in 16 RBIs, slugging over 700 in the playoffs. No fans or media even realized anything different about Stanton's bat, but people in the know did. It began being talked about amongst organizations and bat companies. Bats like these had been floating around for a while. It was supposedly used by Nico Horner all the way back in 2021. Francisco Lindor also used one in the playoffs and went off just as much as Stanton. Stanton's teammates definitely noticed. By this year's spring training, 5 of them had their own models made up. While all of them went off this spring training, Stanton himself wasn't using any bat, unable to play due to injury. Tears in the tendons of both his elbow joints that he speculated may have been caused by, quote, bat adjustments. But before we get to Stanton's injury, a quick word from today's sponsor. Thank you to Game Time, the official ticketing app of Baseball Doesn't Exist, for sponsoring this video. I've gotten to see a ton of awesome things because of Game Time. I saw Shohei hit a bomb in spring training. I saw Alexander Ovechkin score 866. The World Series was completely sold out in 2021. I still got to go to see it because I bought tickets on Game Time. I bought all of these tickets last minute. Personally, that's the best part of the app for me. It's usually a better deal if you do procrastinate. Their last minute deals can save you up to 60% off your tickets. You can even see the view of your seat before you get there. They have zone deals that makes the tickets even cheaper if you pick your section and let Game Time choose your seats, and a lowest price guarantee, meaning even if you find cheaper tickets elsewhere, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. runs. They got tickets for everything: concerts, sports, comedy, theater, anything. And now's the best time to try it, because with code BDE, you can get $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BDE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code BDE for $20 off. Do it right now. Stanton said his injury was probably caused by bat adjustments, but it was February. No one had even heard of a torpedo bat, so nobody thought anything of it. A month later, that all changed. As the Yankees hit home run after home run, setting records, the torpedo bat became an international story. Brewers pitcher Trevor McGill comes out saying the bats are genius but terrible, and inferred that they're only allowed because the Yankees are the ones using them. Jazz Chisholm had to come out publicly defending the bat after hitting 3 homers in 2 games with it, saying it's within MLB regulation. For idiots saying the barrel is moved to the label, you're an idiot.
Jazz Chisholm can say this, can say that. As far as I know, he's never won a thing.
I'm gonna move on.
The Yankees were getting all the attention for the bat, but a picture of Ryan Jeffers also using the bat for the Twins was released. Apparently, there were at least 8 teams with a torpedo bat on opening day, but that soon changed. The public attention was getting out of hand. Now every player in MLB who hadn't heard of them yet wanted one. Within 2 days, Alex Bregman had one, Jock Peterson had one, Bryson Stott said the Phillies were ordering them. Louisville Slugger says when the Reds found out about this bat, they ordered someone from the company to go from Kentucky to Cincinnati immediately. On Monday, Ellie De La Cruz, who had never heard of a torpedo bat, went 4 for 5 with 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, and 11 total bases while using the torpedo bat for the very first time. By this point, people wanted the bats investigated, banned, and wanted their own teams to get them ASAP. Even sports books took advantage of it. On opening day, Anthony Volpe had 12-1 odds to hit a home run. Now that he had a torpedo bat, his odds were 7-1. People were making lists of torpedo bat users and selling them so people could know which players to bet would hit a home run that night. DraftKings made their own list and offered it on their site. Fanatics had a torpedo bat parlay on their site. When the Yankees had their next game the following Tuesday, 90.5% of the public bet the over. 90% of people thought there'd be more than 12 runs scored in this game because of torpedo bats, and there were. Marucci, which is just one bat company, says that nearly 25% of the entire league had contacted them for a torpedo bat within a few days. Jazz Chisholm and Francisco Lindor's exact model of the torpedo bat was already up for sale to the public. Victus and Chandler Bats said they had their biggest sales day of all time because of these torpedo bats, and the real money has yet to even be made. That will happen when these companies inevitably create metal versions of these bats, and every single kid in America asks their parents to buy them a torpedo bat. Torpedo bat's explosion in popularity also gave us a clue on what may have caused the injury that sidelined the first torpedo hitter. The quote, bat adjustments Giancarlo Stanton cited as probably causing his injury was now identified. As the media flocked to the bat's creator to ask him about the injury, he said, quote, I'll defer all those questions to the Yankees medical guys. When asked again, Stanton said, quote, you're not going to get the story you're looking for. Neither will comment on the situation at all. But Stanton did mention that he would continue to use the torpedo bat when he returned, perhaps because that's how good the bat actually is. So far, we've tracked 14 players who began using the torpedo bat. 8 of the 14 have seen increases in exit velocity and barrel percentage, and 9 out of the 14 have an increase in OPS. If the entire league started using one and got the same results as the 14 guys using it now, we may see the biggest increase in offense in baseball history. But that's unlikely. This is a very small sample size skewed by a historic offensive series by the Yankees. It also excludes guys like Max Muncy and Alex Bregman, who've tried the torpedo bat, failed with it, and went back to their regular bat. The truth is, players ordering torpedo bats now are already behind the 8 ball. The Yankees Torpedo bats are all customized based on the player. They have 5 players using Torpedo bats, but all 5 are different lengths, different weights, and the shape of the actual barrels all differ for each specific player based on thousands of at-bats and years of data. If another team does not have access to this data or doesn't know how to apply the data correctly, the Torpedo bats their team will use won't be properly customized, and in theory, the players won't get the same benefits. All the players receiving Torpedo bats now aren't getting them customized based on years of data like the Yankees hitters have. But now that the cat's out of the bag, that will happen over time. It's safe to say that every single MLB team in the league is trying to recreate what the Yankees did. This is creating a bat's arms race, and the Torpedo bat will just be the beginning. Studying where on the bat a player is most likely to make contact has never really been that big of a thing in MLB, but it is now. Teams and players are going to start tracking this closely. If you make a lot of contact on the handle, they're going to suggest a Torpedo bat and have the data to suggest the exact shape, size, length, and weight that is perfect for you. But what about a player who makes a lot of contact towards the end of the bat? Well, they're gonna design a bat for those players too. Over the next few years, we're likely to see a bunch of new bat designs, all with barrels shaped slightly differently based on that player's specific strengths and weaknesses. It's possible every single player in the league will have a customized bat that is perfectly placated for their style of hitting, and that's scary, placing the biggest, strongest part of the barrel where they hit the ball most often. This could very well lead to a massive jump in offense, but we don't know by how much. A reasonable jump in offense would be considered great for MLB. Rob Manfred has already come out saying that Torpedo bats are, quote, good for baseball. It doesn't look like any ban or restriction is close to being considered for these bats. However, a bat's arms race has begun, and as millions and millions of dollars are invested by each team to create the perfect bat for each one of their players, there's a chance offense will explode to new heights, perhaps to levels where MLB will have to step in. And if that does happen, it's all because of this guy and his weirdly shaped Torpedo bat.